Welcome back to Digital Photography. Before we get started, I do want to clarify something from the first video, is that the book is available not at the UM Western Library, but through the University of Montana Western Bookstore, and that is something that you will have to order and purchase for this class. So I wanted to clarify that before we get moving on and talking a little bit about cameras and their anatomy. The basic camera developed probably 800 BC, and it is called the camera obscura. The camera obscura is based on basically a dark room with a pinhole on one side of it, and on the other side, an area for projecting light, which actually travels through that pinhole. Our basic uh, camera can be made simply out of, I think this is an oatmeal can, and all we need to do is have an area that is enclosed, and you'll see this little piece right here. That's a piece of copper with a hole in it that is 1/100th of an inch in size. It's a very small hole. We won't be able to see it on this video. But the camera itself is very simple, and in this camera, we take the top off. We can see I have a paper negative inside of here. And we can actually create images through a style camera like this. This, of course, using traditional silver emulsion on a piece of paper, sticking it inside the camera, and then exposing it to light for a period of time. And then we can take that negative, develop it in chemicals through a process of a developer and sodium hyposulfite fixer, and create a negative that looks something like this. This is essentially the way even today a digital camera works. The difference that we have with our digital camera, instead of the traditional analog silver-based emulsion film that we would put in a camera, we now have what is called a CCD, or a charged coupled device that actually reads light in red, green, and blue waves, and is able to interpolate an image from this. Our cameras that we use today, digital cameras, of course, the point and shoot camera. This is a nice little Lumix style point and shoot camera. This is probably about a $400 camera, and essentially has everything on it that we need. Not all point and shoots are, you know, there to have all the things that we might need in a camera. Of course, zoom lens, this camera has the ability to operate manually, which means that we can choose our ISO ratings, our shutter speeds, and our apertures, which are important to us. Sensitivity to light in the ISO rating, shutter speed in terms of how fast our shutter opens and closes to capture light, and then our aperture, which is the size inside of the lens that that actually creates what we call depth of field. And this camera is a nice little handy camera to carry around with me. It does have all the manual settings on it, and would be good for this class if you got this type of camera. Now, Lumix, of course, is not the only camera that has manual settings on their little point and shoot. There are a variety of others, and this is something that you could research and find something that would be appropriate. But ultimately, when we're working with digital photography, and not much different than traditional film photography, the digital SLR is the camera that is state-of-the-art, industry standard for professional style photography. This camera is a Canon 30D, several years old, 8 megapixel. It does have an interchangeable lens on it, so we can actually interchange our lens in and out. It has all the manual settings in its menu, and many automatic settings in which we can create imagery with. One thing about this camera is that, and you'll see here, I have a little on and off switch that I can turn this camera on, and most of my readings are done through the viewfinder here. We also have a display on the back in which our images will be displayed. Lots of bells and whistles to it. One thing that we can see inside of here, and I'm going to open up my menu and scroll down to a sensor cleaning function, and we do have to clean these cameras, but with the sensor cleaning function, what occurs is that I'm going to click this on and I'm going to open the sensor, and you'll see that sensor inside of here be exposed once I click it. Now inside there is the CCD sensor. It has kind of a green color to it, and when we're done we can always close the mirror down over top of that just by clicking the button in the back or shutting it off, and the mirror shows up. What happens with the single lens reflex is that light does come through our lens, and let me get that back on. Light actually comes through our lens and enters a system of mirrors which reflect the image back into the eyepiece in the back. And when we look through the eyepiece, we can see directly through the lens. This is not relatively new technology. The past 40, 50 years. Prior to that, most cameras were bellows style large format cameras in which individual sheets of film were placed in the back of a camera, very much like a camera obscura, and exposed, taking one photo at a time. The SLR is predated by twin lens reflex cameras, which had two lenses, one to look through and one that captured your image. Viewfinder cameras that used roll film that you could actually roll through and take multiple images in them. What is great about the digital camera, many things that are great about the digital camera, of course, but one of them is our ability to capture large amounts of images onto our cards, our reader cards, and this happens to be a compact flash card, and we can see I can remove that compact flash card in the back here, and that compact flash card will come out. This is a 4 gigabyte card, and you can get up to, I think, 34 or 64 gigabyte cards. Holds a great deal amount of information, and then these cards are then of course transferred through a port in our computer or an outside drive that we can read off of our card into software. Let me put this back in here. And another thing, because we have digital cameras, we have all of the settings on our SLR cameras in which we can change back and forth depending upon the camera to monochromatic style imagery. We can use advanced coloration. We can even choose special color designs that we want to shoot with our camera. We can choose a variety of ISO ratings, which films were rated also at ISO ratings, and of course we'll learn more about that later. But these are some of the similar or simple cameras that you can utilize, from the earliest camera obscura, what we call, of course, our nice little pinhole camera, to the digital SLR. And we'll talk more in the next video. Thank you.